Welcome to the Brotherly Ballers Podcast with your hosts, Jack Vickers and Tyler Herman.
What up, ballers, formerly known as the Pod Squad. If you haven't joined us in the last couple, we are the Brotherly Ballers. So a little bit of rebranding in the offseason, new look, new us, and all that good stuff. But we're coming at you for our last official offseason podcast episode. So covering a little bit of your leading up to your final drafts and your big home leagues. We're going to pick some of our favorite values and stay away targets for this coming year. Got a lot of stuff to cover. But first off, before we get into all that, you might see a couple of other faces if you're watching us on YouTube. So I'm going to toss it over to our friends of the show and very informed, knowledgeable guest co-host for the night, the MinneZona crew. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. Yes, claps.
Yes.
If we had my right thing.
Big
So
claps.
yeah,
Claps all right.
thank you. Yeah, thanks again, guys, for having us on. We had you guys on last time for the NFC and AFC championship games and did some little fantasy and whatnot. But we're happy to be here. We're happy to give you, some of our we got some expertise, more or less, and whatnot. And we'll throw some breakout guys your way. And obviously, we're pretty stoked for the mock draft, enough to give us a little bit of practice before we hit our own fantasy football league drafts and whatnot. So we are happy to be here.
Well, you really put expertise there at a high level. If you saw us on Instagram today, apparently we know nothing. We need to stick with our day jobs, apparently, as one guy likes to put it, with 3 followers and 0 Instagram posts. But hey, what do we know? We're just a couple of idiots, couple of donuts talking about football. So I'm excited. I have 0 idea what we're doing, how it's going to all happen here. At least fantasy football wise, like I may look like a guy that knows football, but when it comes to the fantasy side of things, not very successful. But you know what? We're going to have fun with it.
You will be surprised to know that sums up about every one of our shows before we start. So that's perfect.
We're all in the same boat.
Yep.
So I guess if you guys want to tell the people, at least our listeners that maybe haven't checked yours out yet, a little bit about your show, what you guys specialize in, because we're a little different niches. So
Yeah. So we cover mostly Minnesota sports. We're live Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on YouTube Live, and you can find us on all the socials medias, as we like to say. On the show, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and hit us up on YouTube. We're live on YouTube, and we just talk a lot of Minnesota sports. We have specific guests on. We've had you guys on. We've had former athletes on, things like that, and we have a fun time. And your guys are welcome to join Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Hit us up in the chat. But like Voldy said, we might not know a whole lot, according to a guy with 3 followers, but we know some things. I mean, we are not Jon Snow, if any Game of Thrones people out there. But, we cover a lot of sports. We even do national sports with our Absurder Approves and things like that. And Voldy leads the way on that. And obviously Shield Shoutouts, which is Voldy as well. So, but you can check us out there and hop in the chat. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. If you agree, disagree, open forum is kind of the main thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, they got a lot of different segments going on out there, mostly created out of their own. So my personal favorites, the Absurder Approved, I may have taken liberties of with our version of a Skip It or Ship It, so don't copyright us. But
not at all.
That is where that came from. I always love that one just because it's fun. I mean, Minnesota, we're usually pretty delusional, so it's fun to
Fair enough. Yeah.
debate those types of things, our sports locally or otherwise. And then the Tater Tot Hot Take is always fun. We've got a few hot takes coming on this episode and our next one too, so that's a good time to watch, and if you guys are interested, to check those out as well. So speaking of, like you mentioned, getting ready for your own fantasy drafts coming up, are you guys in several of them? What's your fantasy football background like? Do you have any fantasy events besides just regular leagues? What's that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in 3 leagues as of right now. I've been in the league for almost one of the leagues for like 16 years or something like that now, a long time. And then we have our college group that does our SMSU crew, Voldy's in that as well with me. And we have a good time with that. We just actually picked our day to draft. And the other one I'm doing with another group of friends. And and then Pick'em obviously is big on MinneZona Sports Live. These guys know it. Jack's a former winner, for goodness sake. So we got that going for us. And anyone's free to join. It's on ESPN now. We were on CBS. Now we're on ESPN. So you guys can hop on and join whenever. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I got. And it's pretty similar to Voldy's, too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the one league with Matt and a bunch of our college buddies or whatever, mostly because I don't have friends that have other leagues. So I could use friends and join many leagues, I guess. I don't know. But beyond that, yeah, the pick'em is a huge thing. I mean, when my own family, my sister-in-law is just talking crap constantly about how much better she is at the pick'em than everybody else in our family. I mean, it gets a little heated at some of the family gatherings or whatever. So, but yeah, the pick'em's great. I would love to do a little bit more fantasy football, but again, I have to have friends for that. So,
but you came to the right place. All three of our followers. So.
Yeah, exactly right.
I can say that the pick'em got a little heated with me and Tyler last year because we were obviously covering
That's
week
right.
to week, and
Yeah.
we were both high up early
there.
on. It was very neck and neck for a while. Then he tried to he had to make some moves.
Tried to get spicy and it didn't work.
He had to kind of catch up, and it was fun. So it was good to discuss. The only other league I keep asking, and I think I'm the one banging the drum for it every year, but is there talks ever of a MinneZona listener league, perhaps?
Yes, and we are kind of in the beginning stages of that. We got to get rolling on that, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, life gets in the way and everything like that. And,
we understand that.
Yeah, but yes, it is in the works, and we're trying to make that happen because, I mean, that's when a lot of people will be, taking it seriously and going and going all out. And you get merch. I mean, you look at the hats. We got sweatpants, etc. All that. So
there it is.
Yeah.
We came prepared. Well, let us know if you want to do a little inner pod rivalry. We got 4 of us right here. I know you've got a few other devout, loyal listeners and guest hosts. So, I mean, if we got some time, we got a couple full weeks here. So if anything happens, let us know and we can discuss throughout the season. But
absolutely
good stuff. Well, Brotherly Ballers listeners, we have a lot of our own random games as well. So we'll be getting some links and invites out there, but we've got a DFS one that we did last year with a good handful of people. That's kind of a week-to-week challenge. So if you're interested in that, let us know. We're going to do another pick'em of ours as well, where we kind of do a variation of that, where you only pick 2 teams each week, but you can't reuse the same team. So then by the end, you've had to pick every single team to win at least one game, which means you got to find a spot for the Bears or the Patriots at some point to win a game. So do a few things like that and some other games along the way, which we'll kind of cover in our next episode since there's enough to go with here. But I think that's Tyler. Am I missing anything? I know I'm kind of talking over you here like normal. But,
no, you're good. This is why I'm here. I just get to give the fantasy football knowledge. You get to host. It's fantastic. You do all the notes, and I just kind of show up and I
just get all the right
out
takes
when it's my turn. It's amazing too. Yeah, because I can't remember who won that DFS tournament last year. Yeah, so I just show up. Yep, I just show up. So no, it's great.
I can't even tote about winning the pick'em because I almost pulled off the comeback and lost by 1 in the final week. So
yes,
would have been the first 2-time winner. And
have the 3 years we've done it or something like that.
Yeah, I was the inaugural winner, and then I wasn't close, and then I was right there, and I was like, I'm going to get spicy and pick the Chargers over the Chiefs. I clearly haven't held on to this at all, but I was like, the Chiefs don't even have anything to play for. They might as well lose. They won.
I didn't want to bring it up, but
Yeah,
well, my Chargers jersey and everything. I didn't even
get it done. So
I'm over it. Clearly, I'm not wearing the Chargers for that reason or anything. So,
right.
anyways, I think that's all the initial stuff. So, I mean, we'll cover our other things later, but I think we get to the main event. So we're going to be kicking off a mock draft here for those of you that haven't heard. We like to do it more. Tyler and I found out when we did a couple that it was very boring with just two people because computers are stupid and they do weird things. So the more people you can get in to make it more authentic to your own, the better. So I will let Tyler cover kind of the quick little settings that we just did for this version and for our co-hosts as well. But basic concept, we're just going to be kind of each having whatever we have on the clock to talk about our picks. So that keeps us all in line and not rambling about what we should or shouldn't do. But for you guys, when you're on the clock, feel free to talk through it. If you already know who you're slamming the button on, if McCaffrey falls to 3, Matt, just talk us through your process anyway and let us know, like, here's who I want to do, here's positions I'm thinking, maybe some guys I'm out on, whatever. But then once the clock hits, that's it. So, Tyler, take it away with the settings, I guess.
Yeah, I did it relatively quickly, just to keep it pretty succinct. So I did the 60 seconds per pick, and again, certainly don't have to use it all. But we're going mostly normal settings as far as you would see in normal leagues. So you're going to go QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. Kind of the wrinkle that we use in our main league of record is we do 2 flexes. So we got to have a little bit of that depth that going into it, and then a normal tight end. We kept kickers because why not? And got rid of the defenses, and then shorter benches. And then so in our league, we only do 5 bench spots. So yeah, and we're really just looking for main individuals, half PPR, 1 QB league. Everything else is pretty standard. So we'll jump in here if everybody's ready, and we'll get things kicked off.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
For those of you listening, Matt is 3, I'm 4. We got Voldy at 7 and Tyler at 9. So a little spread out here. I'll try to take you through the big ones on the computers, but
there you go.
CMC and CD, the clear 1-2. So Matt's on the board. Go ahead.
Well, there's a lot of good picks here on the board. I mean, you look at CD before, and the whole contract situation. It seems like things are gonna happen here soon. He's gonna get an extension, so I'm not surprised with that. But there is one guy that has been just a stud these past 4 or 5 years, and I'm gonna go with one Tyreek Hill at 3. And again, I look at it from the perspective of Mike McDaniel loves him. Especially the offense is pretty much somewhat made for Tyreek Hill and whatnot. And I mean, each and every week, he could go off for 40 or 50 points, in PPR and things like that. But I think at 3, it's perfect because I feel like the running back is kind of a lost. I feel when we first started fantasy football, it was like, oh yeah, I got to get a running back round 1. Now it's kind of turning into wide receivers with PPR. So I got Tyreek at 3.
Part of me was holding out hope that you'd take Justin Jefferson, be in the MinneZona crew, but Tyreek would have been my pick. I am at the 4 in one of our main leagues here, and Tyler, I'll try to keep it quick, but
you're good.
Basically, I at the 4 spot am not sold on being with. Perfect. Not sold going with Jefferson, even though it says ADP here. I just think, especially now with the rookie QB woes and going Darnold, I don't know what that's going to look like. Love him. I think he's a great value in the middle of the first, but I'm not sold on that. And then anything other than full PPR, I'm actually going the 2 running backs over Jamar Chase. Personally, I just think there's one of the top 3 running backs, and there's a big jump from there on. So it really comes down to Bijan versus Brees for me at the 4. I don't fault you if you want, Jefferson, Jamar now with Burrow healthy again. If you want him on Ross St. Brown after the great year he had, I just personally think I feel good about one of those 2 at this point and figuring out receiver on the 2-3 turn coming back. So from there, it's tough. I was the guy that went Bijan last year. I am going to actually go with Brees here instead. If you want to start her back up here, Tyler, just because I think he was explosive and crazy last season, even with that offense in shambles. So I want to see what he can do now with the full workload. So that's where I'm going now, and we'll see what happens from there.
All right, Shield at 7, huh?
Yeah, so this reminds me a lot of, I don't know if you guys watch reality TV at all, but you watch MasterChef and they come down to the final 2. It's like, I'm going to pick this person for my team based off the fact it's like, look, just pick the guy and move on. Like we're on a time crunch here. All right, I got 30 seconds to pick somebody. Do I go running back, wide receiver? Oh, well, let's see here. You know what? I hate to do this, but I'm going to go with my guy. I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think a guy like that is definitely, with the Netflix bump that he had this past year, I think that's going to help skyrocket him into the stratosphere.
Tyler, how'd you know?
I was like, I would be ecstatic if this guy fell to me all the way down here.
There's no way this happens in a real draft.
No chance, but it would be sacrilegious for me to ever think about clicking anything else besides this. I hope this happens in our league draft, but I don't foresee it happening. But since I've got the opportunity, there's no question. That was easiest Bijan pick as well. So you see that, Bijan. If you want to send me another signed jersey or another signed mini helmet, go for it.
Locker room cancer. Doesn't get the ball at all.
It's got Dan Quinn out of the way. That's all that matters.
Well, you know.
That's right. We're good now. So we get to JT, Puka, AJ Brown, Saquon, Marvin Harrison. Crazy for a rookie to go that high. And Kyron Williams and back to myself. So I can go many different ways here in a half PPR. It's not terrible to go running back. I tend to like the kind of hero running back. I usually take one stud and then I can kind of load up on receivers. But with the people that are still here, and again, I don't foresee this honestly ever happening in a real draft. Jahmyr Gibbs still here. I think I would definitely go that route over somebody like a Drake London or a Devontae Adams. So I'd go to my two crazy running backs, and again, both with passing chops as well in a half PPR league. I would love that start.
Tyler's got our logo too. Bijan and Brees.
That's right.
Or Bijan and Gibbs.
That's right.
Nice.
All right, back to voting.
Yeah, back to me here. I feel like I definitely got to snag a running back here. I'm really caught between two guys. For some reason, Derrick Henry and Achane as well definitely jump out to me. No offense to Travis Etienne. I think, with Derrick Henry in Baltimore, that's an interesting proposition you're at. Achane as well. Real breakout guy from last year. Damn near won a league with Derrick Henry a couple years ago, so I got to go with my guy, even though he blew out his knee, and then that's when it all went to shit. So
I'm not gonna lie, I had my plan queued up here, and now I'm thrown off because I didn't think ETN would fall that far either. So
there you go. Tainted.
Yeah, this is tough. Ayuk just in the unknown still is enough for me if I like somebody else at this spot to not take him. If I knew he was with the 49ers tomorrow, I'd be all in here. But there's that chance that he goes to the Siberias of New England or Pittsburgh, and I don't want any part of that. So I'm also not really looking at tight end at this point with Kelsey and Laporta down there. We can talk about that later, but I just think that that's a lot of value to go with them when there's other guys I like in a bit. For me personally, my plan was having HN queued up, but ETN there also is very, very interesting. I think I will go with ETN at this point just for the value and also because he's not splitting partially with Mostert. I like HN's upside more, but having the proven one workload is enough for me. So
I like that. The thing at this point too is for me right now, do I lean towards Achane? I have two Dolphins on here, deal with a bye week. There's a lot to factor in. Ayuk, who the hell knows where he's going to go? Devontae, do I trust Devontae? But that quarterback situation is probably the worst in the league, I feel like. And it's not a great situation. But, yeah, I think, at this point, you got to look for a good running back. I'm not huge on Josh Jacobs, in my humble opinion, but I'm going to go Achane here.
Interesting on the Dolphin front. It would be tough to make that call in a real draft, but I get it. They're both game breakers.
When you have McDaniel as your, the head coach, and the offense is just so, it's just so vast, and Waddle and things like that. The question is, is Mostert, going to have that? But I feel like Achane's going to be the guy this year, like you guys were talking about. Mm-hmm. All right, at number 3, so you look at Laporta, and he had a really great season. Pacheco is a guy that I'm kind of eyeing right here too, just to kind of add that. But I think Tyler put it clean too, is like you can load up on wide receivers here these next few rounds as well. I think and Debo's on the list there. It's hard to fathom, but I'm gonna go with Pacheco here.
I love that. Pacheco would have been mine had I not started RB. I love him in the early third. I think he's not talked about maybe quite enough. I think he should be more up there in that second tier, guys, second round. So
8th for the round too, so that helps.
Yeah. For me, starting RB definitely solidifies this, but also a guy that I am just auto picking basically at any chance I can get in the early third round. I won't drag it out here. I love Mike Evans. I think he's amazing. He proves it every year, and every year people assume that he's going to not do it. And then he goes, by the way, I'm a wide receiver 1 again. By the way, I've had 1,000 yards in my career every year. So he proved he could do it with Baker. They specifically brought Baker back and him together to make sure that stayed the way it was. And he has done very well. He's always been a great red zone threat. So getting 2 upside running backs and then starting with him as my wide receiver 1 in the third, I think I could be doing a lot worse. So I'm going that way. Next, we got a couple of onesies. We got Mahomes finally, and then the second tight end, Laporta, coming off the board up to Voldy.
Shout out to Team 5 and to T6, giving the QBs off the board. Never want to be the first guy to take a quarterback off the board. That is a fact. I think a guy that definitely will fit well in the system that he'll be going to, Joe Mixon in Houston. Yeah. I went there with that one. Ready for the ridicule on that that choice, fellas.
I've always been a Mixon guy. It's just a matter of how many mouths they have to feed in Houston, but he should have a lot of scoring chances, so I don't hate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a tough one for me going running back. But thankfully there's stud receivers here in this range. I mean, you can say it all you want, but Debo is the ultimate Swiss Army knife. And if anything happens and we continue to labor this Brandon Ayuk thing, Debo is just going to have even more work there. So they get him all over. They'll do screens. They'll put him in the backfield. So I really don't mind him as a one. Nico Collins, as much as I'd love to, I think there's just so many mouths to feed in Houston. I like one of these other guys better. So I'm actually weirdly going to go Debo here, and I'm going to hope somebody like a Jalen Waddle or a DJ Moore comes back to me so that I can have a really good, solid first 2 running backs and wide receivers to get started.
Right. The next 2 picks, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore.
Yeah, kind of how that goes. So I take the risk. That's the risk you take going running back first. But on top of that, again, they also have their receiving chops. So they're going to get some of their receptions. They're going to be the absolute studs in theirs, and Debo's going to do just the same. So big wide receiver run, fantastic. Not what I was going for. So then looking down to a wide receiver 2, if I look at Malik, he's kind of that high upside shot. He's the guy who you're kind of swinging for the fences. You're trying to win the league if you're drafting somebody like him, because he could be absolutely terrible. You never know with Daniel Jones. Cooper Kupp, you know what you're going to get out of him. He might not be the alpha that he was before, but you also never know. Puka could have just been a flash in the pan. Somebody like Lamar, it's too early for me to go quarterback. I've plenty of other guys later that I'd rather have. So I will take the consistency of somebody like a Cooper Kupp here, just because I know the target share that I'm going to get with Matthew Stafford.
It's a good pick.
Yeah, that's who I was going to take. So that works out. Oh, let me see here. I need some more skill on my team, because if there's anything in this world that we need more skill, Devontae Smith.
Ooh, no time wasted. Instant pick. I like it.
Look, at this point, you got to know what you're doing. I'm a straight gut reaction pick kind of guy. Why reinvent the wheel when it's already round and it's rolling? So
I didn't think so. The next couple of ones, Devontae and then Kamara, who I love in the 4th, and then Malik Neighbors, I didn't think would fall that far. I was freaking out thinking it was going to get to me after I didn't take him. So that would have been an instant pick in the late 4th. I think if I'm in early 4th, I like some of those other guys better. But yeah, I was really hoping he would go to me. So that's sad. I am personally in the camp pretty much every year. I'm known as like the wait on quarterback type of thing. So Lamar is interesting. He's one of my dynasty quarterback, but I'm not looking at him here. I think Stroud is overpriced personally this year. Mini hot take. But as far as other guys I'm looking at, not in love with Kenneth Walker, Zay Flowers, Pittman I like, but I don't love. I'm actually going to go with one guy that we're going to talk about a little bit later. One of my dudes this year that I absolutely love in Trey McBride for the upside this year.
I had him in one of my leagues last year, and I'll tell you what, those last few games that I had him, spot on. So I like that pick. So now you bring up Lamar, and it's like, damn, do I pull the trigger on that? Do I not? Like, it's like I could use a wide receiver, but I feel like I can be willing to wait as if I take, Lamar, then, see where we're at with a wide receiver too. So I think at this point, I usually wait, like Jack was saying too. Like I usually wait until the later rounds because you can get somebody that's like, going to get it done for you. So I will take Lamar here.
I like it. I like the value at that point for sure.
There it goes. Okay. So now I see, okay, Zay Flowers, Michael Pittman, I'm not big on him, especially these past few years. But now that I kind of have, the running backs and whatnot, I'm kind of looking at, okay, Dalton Kincaid, is he going to have a really good year with Diggs being gone? Is he going to get, a good share of the targets? Because they really don't, Keon Coleman's a guy that the Bills will probably utilize a little bit. MVS, I believe, is there now too. Tank Dell, somebody I'm kind of looking at. Higgins. I think at this point I'm probably going to go with Higgins just because he's kind of in that contract year per se, or they're trying to figure out a contract. So I'll go with T.
All right. I'm kind of also in the wide receiver boat as well, unless I want to go the Anthony Richardson route. So for me, I don't like Kenneth Walker enough to have him be my third running back. So for me, there's several of them. There's the Amari Coopers, who seems not exciting but safe. There's George Pickens, who I just don't know that I believe in the quarterback situation enough. And then it's going to turn into some more tight ends, some more running backs, and I feel like I can wait and probably get another guy that I like later coming up. So of the guys, I'm kind of more taking, I don't know that I love him in my wide receiver 2 spot, but as far as the guys that I'm going to take a swing on, I should say, this year, I really like Tank Dell. So I think that's what I'm going to probably go with here, and hope and pray that he is kind of the breakout guy that we saw last year and that Stroud continues to love him, even with Diggs being there this year.
Gotcha.
Well, I got to get probably a little bit more depth on my side, at least looking for some more skill. Do I go tight end? Do I throw in another wide receiver in the mix there too? Been bouncing back and forth a couple of guys, at least with the tight end spot. I don't know if maybe that's still just a touch early on that side with some good guys that are still down on the list there. I am going to go with someone that is definitely going to maybe help out a burgeoning and a blooming offense as well. I'm going to go Scary Terry.
I like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, if he went, I was kind of looking at Kincaid there. I feel like the 5th round is about right for them. He very likely leads the Bills in targets this year. There was obviously a rapport there with Josh Allen last year, and so I can see a full-on breakout for somebody like Kincaid and get into that upper echelon of finishing in the 2-3 area with the sample that the season right into the top. Amari one never do it when I get to this area to Sean Watson. I would rather have somebody now like James. So when I look at these, I look at somebody who's got a solidified role and a good offense. So for the RB3, I'm all in. James Conner there.
All right, so then Swift goes right after. Anthony Richardson finally goes. I thought he'd go a little earlier. Pitts, Aaron Jones, Amari Cooper, Joe Burrow. So we're seeing some of the quarterbacks start to come off the board, and Tyler's back.
Yeah, and so back to here, some of those stuff. Keenan Allen, Christian, unknown roles. There's a lot of mouths to feed in the rookie quarterback. Roll right. You never know how that order you go. I already have kids, so that kind of takes the board. He's just 2 at 7, but he's gonna have 12. For me, I have no issue here with you just 2 wide receivers who again chops them. better than a lot of people think this year. It was kind of a trend last year, now falling back down the board.
Ramondre. I liked him. He was a big one of mine last year. I would have been torn between him and Monty, but I do like Ramondre now that stupid Zeke's out of the way. So
Agreed. And I have Jimmy.
Right. All right, Voldy, we're back.
Well, thankfully, one of the guys I was looking at last round is still in on the mix this time around as well. I'm going to go out and get my guy, George Kittle.
All right. Well, I did not know who to expect here. It's turning out that I am not loving a lot of the flex players at this, which is a good thing that I have most of my starters and just not the two flex spots open. So, Jaden Reed, there's so many different people in Green Bay, and I don't know who to target. Obviously, I'm already good with tight end Evan Ingram. Worthy and Zamir White, Najee, none of them really moving the needle for me. So I do have quarterback targets that I like a lot later. But I think as far as one of the guys that is my favorite values this year, it's basically either auto lock taking Kyler in the 6 to 7 turn if there's not somebody better, or one other guy later as a backup plan. So rather than getting cute and just hoping I can get the backup guy when there's not really a lot of people I like here anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and lock in Kyler Murray, who in the late 6th round here has the 8th quarterback to come off the board, 7-8 here. He's been a top 5 quarterback pretty much every time he plays. And once he came back the last 10 games, he was outstanding. So now we're going to add in Marvin Harrison Jr. into the mix, and gives me the little chance of the Kyler Murray, Trey McBride stack. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think, especially with the vote of confidence that Gannon has now for the Cardinals too. So hopefully that'll help Kyler. I'm not loving this position, actually. I'm not going to lie. Some of the guys I'm looking at here, Christian Kirk, very boomer bust, I feel like. Ingram, kind of the same way. But I hate to do this, but to be honest, I keep hearing about Jaden Reed. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be kind of their – I know Matt LaFleur was saying, like, we don't have any number ones. It makes me want to throw up that we don't have. It's like, listen, you got to have someone break out. Christian Watson gets hurt, and whatnot. But I keep hearing good things with Jaden Reed. So I'm going to go with that for the flex spot. I like it as kind of the wide receiver 3. And, if it goes to crap, well, then I'm just screwed. So now I'm kind of in this position where, okay, I got what I need for wide receivers. I'm pretty set on that. Do I go with Zahir White? I don't think I'm probably going Mostert, especially with all the two Dolphins I have right now. But I'm going to go out on a limb on this one, and I feel like this guy is going to be very good for the Raiders. I'm going to go with, I think it's Brock Bowers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going with Brock Bowers.
Might be the latest you can ever get him based on his college potential and everything. So if they use him right and use him like a receiver, it could be very interesting. Now, back on the board, obviously I'm out for tight end and quarterback, so it really just leaves running back and receiver. I don't usually have both of those positions locked in early like this, so this is new for me.
Sure.
I'm used to getting like my first bench receiver or running back before I even take a quarterback, so this is different, but this is why we do this. That's why we try stuff out. So running backs wise, Mostert, interesting. I just don't know that I bet on him finally staying healthy. I just think I'm a big Achane guy this year. So
sure.
Ridley, I've never fully believed in. I think he'll help the Titans more than it's going to help him necessarily. Same thing with Pollard. I just don't know that he's going to be the guy splitting with Tyjae Spears out there. So for me, probably the guy that I think is the most underpriced this year and is also probably an auto lock for me in the 7th round. I'm going to be going with a guy whose ADP is only deflated because of a suspension threat that was talked about weeks ago, and still nothing has come of it. Rashee Rice, the rookie of last year, second-year receiver for Pat Mahomes, was receiver 15 through the last 6 or so games he played, and he had an insane target share, did amazing in the playoffs, a huge contributor. So I think he's a guy that should be going top 15 borderline wide receiver 1 numbers, and we're getting him in the 7th round. So big fan there.
I thought you were talking Jordan Addison there, but you swerved it a little bit. And I was like, "Oh, Rasheed Rice. Oh, okay, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Other suspension.
Yeah.
So no, Addison goes shortly after, but now we got Voldy back up.
Yeah, this is a real make or break situation, at least for myself here. Rest of the draft can really all pivot here on this point as we make the turn. I think I need a little bit more depth here in the running back course. I'm going to go with my guy. I'm going to go with Raheem the Dream out of Miami there.
I don't hate it. I mean, if he does even like 2/3 of what he did last year, he was insanity at touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
Yes, he was.
all right, Tyler.
One could really have been my easy smash there as a wide receiver. I certainly think he's outside in that offense, and if Levis takes any type of second-year step forward, I think he'd be great. Scrolling down, Hollywood Brown is due for me, especially with the injury right now. McConkey's looking the de facto number one, in my opinion, for Justin Herbert out there, and so for me, pretty easy one. Nobody else here in this range that I like. A little beyond with somebody else that I also love year after year. Just with the ADP, go with somebody like Ladd.
Yeah, I figured you might. He's another one of mine. I didn't think he'd come all the way back to me, but I think that's kind of the spot you grab him half a round early to make sure, because I don't know who else Herbert's going to throw to, so I like it.
Agreed. And I think my picks were going to be between the tight ends that I like. Individual Charles. So some of that wide receiver backs are backing up on their team. Be more clear of that than Carolina. Bryce Young for somebody, and they're not going to be moving a whole lot. Might as well target where I can.
Yeah, Deontay's another one of mine too, because I think he's been forgotten from how he was the target monster before, and now he comes into the Panthers to try to hopefully fix Bryce Young. So I mean, it's a good spot for a crappy team for him to just be like, just give me all the balls and bounce back as a safe volume guy. So, all right, Voldy back up with Warren going off after that.
I think I definitely need to look at. Oh, what do I do? Who am I? Where do I go? These are the questions that boggle me each and every day. I think.
Great word. Love that.
I don't know. At this point, I'm just kind of making it up. Be like, oh, this would be good. I haven't picked a wide receiver in a while. I haven't picked a running back in a while.
Just doing one of these.
I'm just twiddling thumbs and buying my time, and then just trashing everybody else's picks down the road here. I'm going to go do something stupid here. And I think a guy that I've had over the last few years that's been quite productive for me, and David Njoku.
I like the Njoku pick as a late tight end guy. He came on and was like tight end one every week at the end of the year. So if Watson can figure things out, that will be great. I was slamming my desk because I was going to take Jonathan Brooks as like a stash until he got healthy, but he went right before me, so that makes me sad. I'm pretty balanced as a team right now. I mean, running back's the only one I don't have full stuff of. I mean, I've got 3 receivers, tight end, quarterback, or field. But I started running back. So at least you're drafting those guys to be the 2. So still feel like I can go either way if I feel one way or the other on running back versus receiver. Again, don't love the receivers there. Keon Coleman could be, but it also could just be Kincaid or, a combo of nobody being great. Hopkins, I also don't trust. I think Ridley will be the one there if they can even sustain one. Luckily, I do have one guy that I really, really like, and I've talked about him to Tyler a bunch this offseason in Zach Moss. Did really, really well as a fill-in for Jonathan Taylor. And then the Bengals paid him big money to possibly split time with Chase Brown. But, I mean, if he's the guy in that Bengals offense, it could be very, very interesting. Even if he gets a 60-40 split, I don't hate that as a depth piece.
Well, you took mine because that was my thinking as well. But I was looking at him, but I was also kind of eyeing, since I haven't picked a running back in a while too, you hope that there's a little bit of a resurgence, but you never know. You never know, especially with the injury history and things like that. But I like what I got with Achan. I like what I got with who else I got? I forgot. Pacheco.
Yeah.
So I mean, I got to go with Eckler just to see if things go well there. I like him kind of in that round, and if he doesn't do well, then I feel like the waiver wire will help me in the long run.
He could be interesting with Jaden. I mean, maybe he does some more dump offs when he's scrambling. So
yeah, and with Jaden being the starter now too. I mean, that's pretty key. So now I'm in this weird position now because it's like, I really like what I have. And I mean, do I reach for somebody or do I just kind of stock up here? I kind of, I'm kind of looking at, I'm kind of tempted with the Caleb Williams, but your boy Brock Purdy, Jack, is up here on the board too. So, it's kind of, I'm kind of leaning one way and leaning the other, but I'm feeling Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. I feel like with Seattle. Oh, I think I got your guy.
Jackson tonight, big dog. On a roll tonight.
I like what I see with him and Well, I don't know. Maybe Geno has a steep drop off too. I mean, there's some question marks there, but I'll let Jack chat here.
You don't want me to do it. I'm just going to go into my sorrows. I was debating between him and Zach Moss at the last pick, and I was like, well, he's lower, so as long as Matt doesn't take him, I'll be fine. Tyler knows I'm a Jackson Smith and Jigba stan. I actually have, speaking of double references here, one of his mini helmets and Jackson Smith and Jigba's signature. So
nice.
Big fan of him. Took him in my rookie draft, and I liked him as my wide receiver 4 on the team. I think would have been a great dart throw. At this point, I hate everybody, so that doesn't help a whole heck of a lot.
I'm sorry.
I am going to just take a dart throw with Brian Thomas just because I trust him more than I would trust Christian Watson. Again, it's the same thing as the Jaden Reed pick before with the Packers, but Brian Thomas has started to be proving it more in camp with the Jaguars, and if he has a chance to do that one role and get more of the targets, I mean, he was a first-round receiver with Capital, so it's worth it for a dart throw, and if he looks like he's not the guy after the first couple of weeks, I can move on. So
I'm looking at here with my pick, especially a guy that's going to have to be a corner piece for a rebuilding offense. I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton out of Denver there. Because
I like that too.
They have no idea what they're doing out there, so at least one guy is pretty good. So
fair enough.
All right, Tyler.
Few different ways that I could go here as well. I still don't have it either of the onesie position. So look at QB, could look at the tight end as well. I think there's one just at this point in the 9th, 10th round is just kind of a game changer. He's got the rushing upside, which is exactly what you're looking for. And you get somebody in the 9th, 10th round that we're already got 12 QBs off the board that can finish somewhere in the top 7-8 with that rushing potential. And again, he's a phenomenal passer as well. He's down the board a little bit past the Tua, past the Jared Goff, but Daniel's there for the taking, and he could win you a league.
Yeah, Jaden, for spoiler, if I didn't kind of just get backed into, I don't like anybody else, so I'm going to get Kyler, who's my guy. Jaden's the backup plan. I would have taken him 2 picks ago at Zach Moss's just to ensure that I get him because he's
right.
I take him over Jordan Love, Caleb, Purdy. Like, they're all just going to be pretty similar that you could stream. So,
sure.
So and a couple more quarterbacks, another tight end coming off here. So if I get to the tail end of this and I'm looking at the kind of the onesie positions just to make sure I get them off my board, I could probably wait one more round. But in this tier of, I don't know that he's going to be back in really the first half of the season, so he's kind of off my board, even though he's up here. Dalton Schultz, I think, even adding Diggs, as much as I don't think he's going to be great, it's just another mouth to feed, plus Joe Mixon as well. So that kind of brings me to the Pat Freiermuths of the world. He's kind of this last tier for me. I don't want to come out of my draft with just a Cole Kmet or a Luke Musgrave. Freiermuths is going to be probably second on the Steelers in target. That's what you're looking for in a tight end, somebody who's going to be first or second on their team in target.
I like that. Spears goes right after. He's also very interesting. Yeah, Fryermuth's kind of my last. Like, if I didn't get somebody early, he's the break glass to make sure I get him at least. So Voldy's out.
Yeah, I'm looking at here, and I thank God that I wasn't the first person to take a quarterback, because the last 3 or 4 rounds, I'm like, am I gonna have to break my only rule? My only rule in fantasy is don't be the first guy to take a quarterback. So now that that's taken care of, weighing my options here, I do have one guy for sure that I do want to get, but it is a bit of a stretch, and last year was going to be the year for him, but then 4 plays in, he blows his Achilles. We won't go there, but let me go with my other guy, the Canadian sensation, Justin Herbert himself. The guy's got his own soap with Dr. Squatch, man. The guy's got things going right for him, and a great coach, too.
I like that. I thought you were going to take Rodgers, and I was going to go on a whole speech about how I still believe in Herbert over him. So I like that. Herbert and Goff are like my 2 super late guys that if I some reason miss out on Jaden and Kyler, that I'm like, they're still great. They're still quarterback ones every week. So for me now, there's a couple of guys that I didn't think would quite slip to me. I'm not interested in taking up a backup quarterback, not taking a backup tight end. So it's literally just fill my bench with running backs and receivers. And I'm, again, still pretty balanced between going either way here. I think there's really only a couple running backs left that I like. Blake Corum, the rookie, going to the Rams is interesting for me because Kyren is often hurt, and Corum, they could run the ball a lot. But one other guy that is going to feel so gross to take, but I'm going to do it anyway just because he's a good depth filler and because, God, he's going to have a lot of chances to fall in the end zone, is the ghost of Ezekiel Elliott, who in the Cowboys offense this year, man, they moved on from Pollard because he had 20 attempts in the 5 yard within 5 yards, and he got 2 touchdowns. If Zeke gets 6, he's a running back 2 to 3. He's flex worthy. So it's not going to be pretty. I actually like Rico Dowdle more, but Zeke could easily be annoyingly fantasy relevant this year.
It's because Tony Pollard would do all the work, and then Zeke Elliott would get the 1 yard touchtown after Pollard ran it for 7 times for 57 yards, and they wouldn't reward him for that. So off my soapbox about that.
So I'm looking at this right here, and I would be remiss if I didn't do this. And with Bowers, is he going to live up to the hype? Is he not going to live up to the hype? I'm going to go with our guy, Voldy, TJ Hawkinson.
Yes, sir.
So just in case something goes wrong with Bowers, I'm curious to know what you guys – I mean, with this ACL injury, I almost feel like he might miss a couple games, but I see them – they had him listed as probable for week 1. I don't know how. But
you never know.
Interesting.
I don't hate taking him if your league, for the love of God, has an IR spot. If you don't take him just to fill up a bench.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah,
but yes, if
we do have IR, so
be sneaky and grab him and stash him in there.
Yep, I will do that for sure. So now there's a lot of wide receivers up here, but I feel like what you mentioned Brown for Cincinnati, and I feel like. Zach Moss definitely had some pretty good games, I feel like, with the Colts last year. There was one where he really broke out with Taylor being out. But, at this point, take the chance on the rookie. I'm going with Brown.
Yeah, I would have taken him had you not if I didn't already have Zach Moss. I like either of them at their value this year. I think ADP-wise, they're both underpriced because – you might be wrong. Maybe one of them becomes the alpha, but if it's like a 50-50, 60-40 split, they're both going to have value on the Bengals offense. So I'm good with whichever one kind of happens to fall to me at that point. Man, for me, this is the third time I've talked about this where there's a Packers receiver and I'm on the clock and they're the top pick and I don't want to take them because I don't trust any of them. So Lockett, I mean, we were talking about JSN earlier. I believe that he finally overtakes Lockett this year, and I'm just not interested at that point. Yeah. I don't trust Zach Charbonnet. I'm looking at a few people down the list. J.K. Dobbins will convince people every year he's coming back, and he's not gonna because he's just gonna always be hurt.
Tears his Achilles.
Yeah, something new with a leg. For me, I think I will just take a dart throw at this point because I'm not sold on anybody else, and I'm gonna go Khalil Shakir from the Bills just on the chance that he becomes the new number one as far as wide receivers go. There's a few guys out there, and I know there's Keon Coleman and whatnot, but there's nobody else that really seems like a difference maker. And if you're the one for Josh Allen, it's worth a shot in the 11th round. So
I like it.
Dobbs and then J.K. Dobbins go next up until Voldy here.
Nice, I like that, and especially one guy I've had my eye on here for at least the last couple of picks, even last round too. It's like, do I throw it out there a little bit more? But somebody that kind of came onto the scene in the back half of the season, or at least made things interesting in the dirty South for the Dirty Birds. I'm going to go with Algier in the running back spot.
I don't hate that. If Bijan gets injured, he did well the year before he showed up.
They got to give him the ball. I mean, that's just how it works.
True.
I mean, the ghost of Artie Smith there is definitely going to say, yeah, Bijan's not getting the ball.
Yeah. God.
No, I love it. For me, again, at this point, I'm just stacking running backs and wide receivers. So Jack knows I'm a Jacoby Myers stan, but I'm gonna not go with Jacoby Myers just to mess with Jack here. I'm scrolling down a little bit down further, and I'm looking at this guy who's in a new situation. I wonder if just a change of scenery for somebody as talented as Jerry Jeudy is going to be successful for him. So I want to see if somebody in Cleveland besides Amari Cooper can be fantasy relevant. So I want to see if it's like, give me the first round Alabama wide receiver. Let's see if a change of scenery does the trick.
Tyler knows he's my dynasty wide receiver, and I'm praying that he's right. I just don't believe it anymore. I've been hurt.
I don't either. I don't know that I do either.
You were hovering over Jeudy, but then there was a certain quarterback that just left Minnesota that was sitting there, and I thought for a second, and then I realized
should have taken Kirko. Should have taken Kirko. I can put him on there. So. A few more receivers, quarterback, tight end, Cole Kmet, not interested in any of those, but he's still there. I can't get rid of my boy twice. So Jacoby Myers, welcome to the squad. I can't do it twice to him.
I don't hate it.
I was looking at Joshua Palmer. So obviously, I know you have Ladd, but I was liking Josh Palmer. I was hoping he'd fall back, but
yeah, no, I like the way. Real quick, I like the Myers pick because I feel like a lot of people zone in on Devontae, and I feel like he kind of gets the, he sneaks in there, gets the targets and all that. So
will Jacoby survive the Brock Bowers experiment is the question. Will Tyler finally have to let Jacoby go?
That's a good point.
I might have to. It's been pretty crazy, but I'm like, every year he gets drafted as like the wide receiver 42, and every year he finishes as wide receiver 27. I'm like,
hanging around.
Nobody can get me off the Jacoby Myers train. I seem to have him every single year, and every single year people are like, why do you keep picking him? I'm like, because he's a flex-worthy person every single year.
Oh, we might have to. Unless you wanted, did you get the pick in there, Voldy?
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I just.
Okay, good.
That's a name that I keep hearing some promising things about with 3 picks left. We're just taking solid guesses, hopefully, that pan out well. Otherwise, hey, the waiver wire is a great ally.
I'm not going to lie. Despite being teammates, would have taken Rico Dowdle there if he slipped to me and just made sure I got the Cowboys running back. Because I think that player is going to be so valuable that it's worth it for me getting whichever one of those two it is. It's worth using 2 bench spots to get like a RB2. So would have done that. He just went. So that's great. I'm out on Leggett or Cooks here as far as wide receiver. Jalen Wright is interesting because I think the Dolphins are the team that uses 2 running back sets more than anybody. So even though he's the RB3, it might not matter, and he's so fast too. But I'm going to go with a little bit more disappointing homer pick and say, you know what? If our quarterback can get hurt, why can't our running back who always gets hurt too do the same? So Ty Chandler, I love. I think he's done really well in flashes, and Aaron Jones is always good for missing 3 to 4 games. So I think they're going to work him in more than people expect, and I don't think Aaron Jones is going to be given the full workload. They're going to spell him more. So late flyer, we'll see.
Yeah, and we can just kind of finish out round 13, and we'll call it good. I don't figure we need to worry about kickers.
Right. All good. I was thinking of one guy that, we just mentioned not too long ago. But I feel like a change of scenery will maybe help him a little bit at this point. And I'm kind of looking more towards running back. And, I really considered Alexander Madison.
How dare you?
I will not do that just for the sake of time. But I'm going to go with Wright just in case something were to happen with Achane or Mostert.
Like
so
Cool. Yeah,
I wasn't going to do it, Jack. I promise. I
couldn't believe it. So many people, like even the fantasy footballers, one of them had him as a my guy last year, and so many were like, great value in the 5th. And I was like, I haven't heard any analyst except me. Well, I'm not an analyst, but I haven't heard anyone besides me be like, I don't see it. And I was like, he's gonna be. It's the take I'm the most proud of ever in my life. So
yeah. That's right.
You got me all worked up here. We'll have it paused here, like Tyler said, and not do the last couple because it's gonna be no names. But really quick, I'll let you guys both go first if you want to just do your starters or your teams, and then if you maybe have maybe give us like one pick that you're like the most proud of value wise, and then one that you're like, I'm really nervous this could make or break my season.
So I'll say for mine real quick. Yeah, thanks for putting that up, Tyler. The one that I really like the most, and I feel like this is kind of obvious, but I really like the Tyreek pick just because, you know he's going to be consistent. Now, barring anything weird that happens, like an injury or something like that, because, I feel like he's had some, but it hasn't been prolonged or anything. But I just don't think anybody has a true answer to how to stop him because he's so damn fast. But I really like him there. And then I'd probably say my second guy, man, Pacheco runs hard. I mean, if you've watched all those Chiefs games and everything like that, that guy just works his butt off to, get the extra yardage. And I know he's going to get, enough touchdowns. And, they rely on him too, now. But the one that I'm kind of concerned about, I kind of have two. Real quick, Jaden Reed, because who knows what'll happen with that wide receiver room because it makes Matt LaFleur want to throw up when, they don't have wide receiver one, but they might actually end up having that. And then Eckler, I'm looking at kind of like, I'm giving it one last chance. I want to see him be where he was it like 2, 3, 4 years ago? I'm concerned about it because he could get injured, and then you have Brian, Robinson or whatever his name is. So I kind of those are the two I'm kind of concerned with. But I'll be a homer here and say I like the Hawkinson in that round just because Hawk I think will help Darnold a lot, but that's for MinneZona at some point. So.
All right, I'll hop in next, just order wise, really quick. I won't run through my whole team because we're going to post all 4 of our teams with our group and have people vote on who their favorite is, and then you guys can do the same also. And we can kind of see who's consensus winning. Not that it matters this early, but as far as mine, I feel pretty shocked with most of these guys being guys I try to take in a lot of drafts. I would say the one I'm the most happy with is probably either Kyler or Rashee Rice. Kyler makes me sad because I wanted to go Jaden Daniels, but I'll take Kyler as the value where I can. Rashee Rice, I just think is so underpriced. So I'm very, very happy of him in the 7th to pull that off with the positions I went earlier and not have receiver take a back seat. I'm probably the most, I don't know worried, but the most make or break on Tank Dell, just because I really, really like Rice, who could end up easily being my 2. Dell could either be like a league winner or he could be a wasted pick at that point. And I just didn't have a feeling on enough other guys to pick over him that I was like, okay, I'll believe it. I'm just going to try to hit receiver a little bit harder as a backup. I feel very safe in my first 4 picks. And then the next 2 couple after that, it's just Tank Dell is the question mark of, I don't know what he's going to do. He could be a wide receiver 1. He could be a wide receiver 3. It could be a long range. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Moving into Voldies. What's your thoughts on your fave and scaries?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I am a guy that definitely likes to have the security blankets when it comes to guys on my team. So, like David Njoku, George Kittle, obviously, they're going to get their touches when it comes to it. But then you throw in, my receivers as well, Cortland Sutton. You get Terry McLaurin as well. They are going to be leaned on, I feel like, quite heavily, especially with new quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, whether it be, obviously with little experience or no experience at the NFL level. Those guys are going to be leaned on quite heavily, at least on the receiving side early on. So I feel pretty decent about that they are going to get their numbers for sure. I am a little concerned with my running backs beyond Raheem Mostert. What's Derrick Henry going to be like? Obviously, sharing the backfield with Lamar. Is it going to be the Derrick Henry we saw with almost putting up 2,000 yards? Or is it going to be the Derrick Henry, push comes to shove, knees give out, and barely keeping things together at the end of the season? Joe Mixon as well, we talked about when I picked him as well. A lot of mouths to feed down in Houston. How is that going to really gel with CJ in the sophomore season and that very wide and deep receiving core, plus Dalton Schultz in the mix too on the tight end side. So the running backs beyond Raheem Mostert, at least him being the main feature back in Miami. My other guys there with Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon, I have my eye heavily focused on those two.
All right, Tyler, last but least.
Yeah, definitely, but least. I clearly went one of two ways. My guys were either 21 years old or they were 54 years old.
Nice.
So
Correct.
I got all the young guys, but I got all the good young guys. So like Bijan and Gibbs, obviously two amazing focal points of their offenses that should both be improved, especially the Atlanta offense. I think new coaching regime there, he's got a shot to be top 2, top 3 at the running back position. And then Debo and Cooper Kupp, I just kind of went target share. I got people who I knew were going to be consistent, and then some high upside guys from my running back room. And then, again, just kind of went consistency. James Conner, he's never going to win you a week, really, but he's going to get his touches in there as long as he's able to stay healthy. Got sniped a couple times, so I would feel better if this Ladd McConkey turned into a Calvin Ridley. But what can you do? Again, if Ladd shows up and LA is as bad as they say, they're going to be behind a lot. He's been obviously the number one receiver there for Herbert, and I don't think Herbert's all of a sudden just going to not throw the ball. I get the concern with Harbaugh. Hey, I'm just going to run the ball into the ground. You can't run the ball 50 times if you're down by 27. It just doesn't work like that. So Herbert still has an absolute cannon, and he's accurate. And McConkey's a phenomenal route runner, so I think he's going to return plenty of value there too. And then again, I got the ultimate weapon, the rushing weapon, Jaden Daniels in the ninth. Get him in the 9th and 10th round, and you're going to have a very similar Kyler Murray, Anthony Richardson type individual 5 rounds later. So I wish my receiving room was a little bit better, but love my running backs, love the consistency, and I got a lot of high upside guys.
Yeah, I'll be very angry if somehow Bijan and Gibbs end up on the same team in a real draft, because
that would be ridiculous.
Bananas. Bijan should be like 5, 6, and Gibbs should be late. Like Gibbs should be where you're taking
like
Bijan
11.
in this draft.
Right.
Exactly. You should be like 11.
You're going to win the poll just based off of that. But I think other than them, it's a very like realistic draft that like most people, if you're drafting in the late first, can get. And I like a lot of these targets. So like you feel very balanced. And again, like maybe in a real draft, you take Jaden Daniels like a round or two earlier when you took Ladd or Deontay, just to make sure you get him, because the rest of your core, like you already have those first 6 picks that are like beasts, filling out your flex included. And then you just stream and figure out tight end and hope somebody breaks out and go from there. Yeah. So anyways, if any of you are listening currently live, feel free to vote on your favorite one in the comments. Let us know your favorite picks or what pick you're shocked that we took instead. And then otherwise, like I said, I'll put something together and have us get some votes on it to discuss for our next episode. And we can either have the zoners share it or make their own or whatever they want to do for their listeners. And we can see who came out as the winner in the draft, or maybe some favorite picks, and go from there. So yeah, trying to think if there's anything else to round it out. If you guys feel prepared now for your fantasy drafts coming up, are there any things that surprised you or that went well or didn't go well? What would you tell the other people getting ready for their drafts?
Go ahead, Shield. I'll let you go.
I mean, definitely when it comes to preparing, if you want to be the guy that does the 37 mock drafts, wants to do, all the expert analysis, watch all the shows, just do you, man. Each and every year, I put in absolute bare minimum when it comes to preparation. I make sure guys are healthy. I make sure guys are actually signed on their teams too. I thought CeeDee Lamb going at number 2 to start off this draft was very surprising, even if and when he ever does get signed. But you know what? I say, if you're a guy like myself that finishes middle of the pack in fantasy, the bare minimum does its fair bit, but you know what? I may have to start taking things a little bit more serious in years to come if I want to be able to stick around in these leagues, or maybe even get invited to other leagues. I don't know. We'll see.
I guess for me, I feel like a lot of people, whenever they take up the time, like let's just say it's like 2 minutes, before I'll 1:30 or whatever, minute 30 for their pick. Don't overthink it. I feel like a lot of people kind of overthink it and say, well, this guy's got this with it's like, listen, if you watch football enough, like myself, like, Voldy, like you guys and whatnot, I feel like you kind of know who's going to be the consistent guy. And it's like, okay, maybe I take a risk here or there. But I feel like a lot of people overthink it a lot. And, if you have a guy sitting there, like if you see a rookie and you're like, wow, I doubt he's going to do much. I mean, I took AJ Green his rookie year and I didn't feel great about it. And look what he did, and he was probably one of my top guys. So I think a lot of people just kind of take up the time. They worry about it. They want to make the right pick. And I feel like you kind of got to go with your gut and what you envision your team looking like, as well as, maybe looking up some stats. I'm not the one I'll do a mock draft or two, but after that, I'm just kind of like, okay, I kind of know, because there's going to be people in some of these leagues that are just going to take somebody like for instance, we have one guy in our SMSU league that takes Justin Tucker every freaking year in like the round 6 or 7. Yeah, that's going to stop this year because somebody's going to take, because you're going to get some surprise picks. And all of a sudden, if someone drops to you, then you're in good shape. So, yeah, I'd say don't overthink it.
I like that. Well said. We talk enough about our own tips, so I'm not going to jump into any of my own stuff like that. But Tyler, do you have any thoughts or anything to close out the mock portion of things?
Yeah, I'm with these guys. Don't overthink it. It's such a good one too. It's kind of an old adage that you hear a lot of analysts say is follow the money. Opportunity and volume is king when it comes to fantasy football. So find those individuals that got paid if they're looking in new areas and new teams. There's a reason. If the NFL team is willing to put real dollars up to bring somebody to their team, they're not just going to sit them on the bench. So look for those guys that have those fresh contracts. If it's a tiebreaker between them and somebody else, somebody playing on contract years, believe me, people want a second contract, believe it or not, in the NFL. So Follow the money, follow the volume. You can't go wrong.
Well said.
Just ask Justin Jefferson.
Bingo.
That's right.
And not Kenny Galladay.
Oh,
for those of
yeah.
That's right. There you go. If you guys want the worst thing ever, I traded a first round pick for Kenny Galladay, and a couple years early, and it turned into the 1.1 that turned into Breece Hall. So that was the worst trade I've ever made. So I traded to like 2 years in advance. Yeah, and it was after Galladay broke out, and it turned into Breece Hall. So that's the worst trade I've ever made. It doesn't get worse than that.
Yeah,
that's painful.
Yeah. Well, perfect.
So we've all been there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Me too. No worries. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you guys joining us. Hopefully it was fun. Hopefully some of your listeners and stuff can share, or you can share to them. And
Absolutely.
I know you guys dabble in the non-fantasy side of things, but maybe they'll find some interest, or we can find ways to do little mini segments throughout the year if there's a desire for it. So, I think we're going to take a quick pause here, and then we're going to get into some of our other stuff, and we will we'll be back shortly with that. So I'll wrap it up and say, go check out the Zona crew on YouTube live now, and they're going to be every Wednesday still, correct?
Wednesday at 7 p.m. Perfect. You got it.
All right, so they're every week. We'll be a little bit more sporadic, but also weekly for the most part. So, go check them out if you want a little bit more consistent schedule and daily programming. So that's all I got for now. So we'll be back after the non-commercial break.
Thank you for listening to the Brotherly Ballers podcast. Check out more content on youtube.com/@thebrotherlyballers.